Hi, I'm Lucy and welcome to Beautifully Unfinished, the podcast that holds space for the next stage of your life. The space I originally created for women, but I've come to realize it's for anyone, men and women navigating midlife, trying to find the balance and make sense of it all, of this amazing thing called life. You know, it's funny how something so simple, something we don't even think about, can hold so much power. A hug. Not the polite kind, not the quick half-hearted one, but the kind where someone really holds you. Because sometimes a hug says everything when words just can't. And it makes me wonder, when was the last time you really and truly hugged someone or allowed yourself to be truly hugged? I'm not talking the pat on the back. I'm not talking the polite quick squeeze. I'm meaning the I've got you kind of hug. One of the many blessings of being a granny, and there are many, is being an active part in my grandkids' lives. And sometimes when I arrive there after a long day to go and visit them, I step out the car and my two little ones, a little 5-year-old and 2-year-old, come running towards me with open arms, ready for the huge hug. Granny, Nana! And in that instant, without realizing it, everything feels lighter. Last week I spoke about betrayal, about the questions, the hurt, the quiet aftermath. But what I didn't say then is in those moments, you don't always need answers. Sometimes you just need to feel safe again. And that's where something as simple as a hug comes into play. Because the funny thing, even in my 50s, something can affect me right to the core, and despite all the rational thinking, all the logic, all the understanding, the heart doesn't always want to follow the mind. Denial creeps in. Hope creeps in, and before you know it, you're trying to make sense of something that simply doesn't make sense at all. And eventually you realize you have to find your own peace. You have to be true to you and to the people that you care about. And in those moments, there's actually nothing anyone can do or say to fix it. No perfect words, no neat answers, just presence. Just someone saying, I'm here. And sometimes that comes in the form of a hug. There's something about being held. It reminds you that you are not alone. It grounds you, it softens the edges of whatever it is you're carrying, and for a brief moment everything feels just a little bit lighter. A real hug says, I've got you. You don't have to be strong now. You can just be. And yet somewhere along the way we're taught the opposite. We tell our kids, be strong, don't cry. You know, when your little guy hurts himself, you say, be a big boy, be brave, my little girl. Don't cry. And we carry that with us into adulthood. And when life goes wrong, when things fall apart, there's this quiet expectation to hold it all together, to be brave, to stay strong. But all that emotion, it doesn't disappear. It has to go somewhere. And maybe one of the healthiest ways to release it is through tears, held safely in a real, meaningful hug. There's something else I came across called the Disney effect. I don't know if you've heard of it, but in the Disney parks, the characters, Mickey Mouse and Goofy, they don't speak, but they communicate through their presence, through their gestures. But there is an unspoken rule that when someone, be it a child or even an adult pretending to be a child, goes up to them for a hug, the character Mickey Mouse and Goofy, they never let go first. They hold the hug for as long as it's needed, until the person lets go. And there's something pretty incredibly powerful in that, because it says without words, I'm here as long as you need it. And it's not just emotional, there's actually a science in all of this. When you hug someone, your body releases oxytocin, the feel-good hormone. It lowers stress, it calms the nervous system. It literally tells your body you're safe. Isn't that incredible? Something so simple can shift everything inside you. And I've felt that personally, because sometimes what starts as a complete meltdown, you know the kind we're talking about, right? It's the snot, it's the tears, it's messy. You can't even catch your breath. Your jaw is aching and you are one big mess. It can end in something completely unexpected. One moment you're feeling overwhelmed, and the next something shifts and you feel lighter. You find yourself laughing through the headache and the tears. That is not random. That's your body releasing stress and finding safety again. Even the headache plays a role. Your body is grounding itself and it's saying, okay, we've let it all out now. We've released it. And honestly, there is something quite beautiful in that. I remember the first time I really let everything out when I first opened up about my betrayal. It was to my cousin Shans. I could hardly speak. I was holding back tears for so long. Suddenly it all came all at once. It felt like my entire world had shifted, and there I was, sobbing with her and her husband Charlie beside her. And then suddenly we found ourselves laughing, crying, snorting, makeup smudged, no tissues, rather a big fat toilet roll in tatters. There was an awful lot of swearing, if I recall, as well. But what stayed with me wasn't just the release. It was the hug. The way she held me, and then when I pulled away, Charlie blocked me and stepped in and held me so tightly. And he's strong. And in that moment, the tension in my jaw softened, the ache in my chest eased, and there was something inside me settled. And when I think back, it wasn't about finding the right words or fixing anything. It was something so simple. It was just a hug. I've been thinking about this a lot lately. How often do we go through things, we hold it all together, when what we really need is for someone just to hold us? And if I'm honest, there have been times in my life where a hug would have meant everything, but I didn't ask for it. Or maybe there was no one around who was able to give it to me. And as I've gotten older, and I'd like to think a little bit wiser, I've come so much more aware of the emotions that are around me, of the people and what emotions they seem to be carrying. And even when they don't say it, there's so much loneliness out there, more than we realize. And I've noticed that even in the simplest interactions, sometimes a conversation with someone I've just met, I'll feel it, that quiet need for connection. I'll often ask, can I give you a hug? And you know, I don't know how many times I've asked this to people, but I've never been turned down. And it makes me think maybe we believe we have to do something big in this world to make a difference. Be the Chris Barnard or be the Nelson Mandelas of the world. Do something extraordinary. But maybe it's not about being the world changer in the way that we imagine. Maybe it's the small things like a hug that can change somebody's world in that moment. But not all hugs are the same, are they? There's the polite hug. Hello, nice to meet you, nice to see you hug. The slight lean in and straight back out hug. Very little connection. And then there's the kind that lingers. The kind where neither of you lets go first. Well, obviously someone lets go first, but you know what I'm getting at. It's the kind that says, if you're not okay, that's okay. And then of course there's the awkward hug. Full disclosure, I'm a hugger, as you probably worked that out by now. And I remember being introduced to one of my other cousins' husbands years ago. It was a moment that still actually makes me blush, and I don't know why I'm telling you this, but anyway, he's an American, he's from Texas, and in my defense, I've always found Americans to be particularly friendly and tactile. So when I stepped in confidently for a hug, he literally recoiled and said, I don't hug. Well, my living, that left me wondering, what on earth do I do with myself? Which bloomin' rock could I climb under? But I must be honest, I've never had that experience again. Thank goodness. And here's something I've come to realize. We're often so good at giving support, but we're not very good at receiving it. We comfort others, we show up, we hold space, but when it comes to us, we say, I'm fine. We brush it off, we carry on. But what if we allowed ourselves to be held too? Someone in particular comes to mind when I think of an incredibly strong woman. In fact, it's the most extraordinary woman who happens to be my aunt. She is one of the strongest women that I know. She's not young anymore. She struggles with her back, and yet she carries so much. She cares for her daughter, who faces her own challenges, and for her son after a devastating riding accident, who's now in a wheelchair. She does all this caring for these guys, and on top of all of that, she lost her husband of over 50 years. Now, thankfully, she has the most incredible support system from her kids. They're amazing, but the day-to-day ongoing weight of it all is mostly carried by her. And as I've been reflecting on this, I've realized there must be so many moments where everything is so overwhelming, exhaustion sets in, and yet over the years that I've known her, which is my entire life, I've never seen her completely fall apart. She carries on, holding everything together so gracefully. And she's also someone who seems to find it very hard to receive something as simple as an unconditional hug. A hug is more than just physical contact. It's connection. It's presence. It's being seen without having to explain yourself. And in a world that's so very busy, so rushed, so surface level, maybe we need more of that. Because if I'm honest, I have a full life. I have work, grandchildren, responsibilities, and yet there's still moments, many moments, when I feel incredibly lonely. And in those moments, a hug is more than just a hug. It's a connection, it's comfort, and it's something that can carry you. Carry you even through the smallest or the heaviest of moments. So maybe today this is your reminder. Your reminder to hug someone. To hug someone a little longer. To let yourself be held if you need it. And if there's no one around right now, just know that the need for comfort, for connection, for warmth, that's not weakness. That's being human. And maybe, just maybe, it's the smallest things like a hug that can make the biggest difference when you need it the most. Until next time, take care of yourself, and remember, you don't have to carry everything on your own. Thank you for sharing this space with me today on Beautifully Unfinished. I hope today's episode has reminded you that you're not alone, and that sometimes the simplest thing, like a hug, can mean the world. If any of this resonated with you, I'd be so grateful if you would like, follow, and subscribe. It just helps keep the podcast going, and it truly means more to me than you'll ever know. I hope I see you next Thursday. Have a great week. Bye for now.